If you drive for DoorDash, you may get what's called a stacked delivery, or what DoorDash calls a batched delivery. But what is it, and how can you use it as a driver to make the most money? If you and I are just meeting, my name is Mike, and I've completed just shy of 1,300 deliveries on the DoorDash platform. That and thousands of rides and transactions in this gig economy. This whole channel is dedicated to your success in this side hustle. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. So stacked deliveries, what is that? Well, as the name implies, it's basically a stacked request. It's two requests, two different customers, but one restaurant. Now this is great for time-saving measures for you. You're already going to that restaurant anyway. This is after you receive your first order request. DoorDash sends you another one. It looks like this, again, for the same restaurant. But should you take all of these stacked or batched orders? Let's go over what I look at when I get a stacked order. Number one, obviously one of the first things that our eyes are drawn to, that's the pay. Now this depends on your marketplace. What's really good pay for your marketplace? So you'll get a hang of that the more and more you drive. In general, you want to look for at least $1 per mile. That's really across any marketplace because you can write off, at least for this year's driving here in 2020, 57.5 cents per business mile. So really anything less than $1 a mile, you're really eating into any profit you're going to make. So number one, look at the pay. And number two, look at those miles and figure out how much am I getting paid for the miles driven. And what's nice is DoorDash does give you the additional miles. It'll say, hey, you're going to get this amount of pay for this amount of additional miles. Number two, or I guess number three, look at the starting and the ending destination. Because yes, you're getting additional pay and hopefully you don't have to drive a lot of miles for it, but figure out where you're going to be ending. Is it in a different area of the marketplace? One where you're going to have to drive back to the original starting point. So consider that, because any miles that you have to drive back without an order, obviously that's going to eat into your expenses. Next, I want you to consider overall strategy for how busy has it been for that day. Let's say it hasn't really been busy that day. Then you might want a cash flow. Maybe the miles don't matter as much. You just want to make that revenue. Versus maybe that stacked request is farther away. Maybe it's not paying that great for the miles and you know it's been super busy that day. Maybe you don't want to take it because you know you can get a better offer. Now, I would say in my experience, most stacked orders are okay to accept. Again, barring the miles, barring the pay, of course. But again, one of the main positives of a stacked order is saying, hey, I guaranteed I have pay on a second order. I don't have to drive to another restaurant. It's from the same restaurant. One more power tip for you. Remember, you can only receive a stacked delivery after that initial request. So let's say I'm parked here. Let's say this was a hotspot and I get an order request, let's say right over there at a restaurant. Give it a moment before you, let's say, mark arrive or even before you go into the restaurant. What that's going to do is give the Dasher app a few seconds to say, hey, this Dasher is in this popular plaza. And in that time, in those just few seconds, you may be able to get a stacked delivery. And from my experience, you can get a stacked delivery before you arrive to the first location, but even after you've picked up from the first location, if it's basically immediate, if you've picked up and basically you're walking back to your vehicle or just starting to go, the Dasher app knows, okay, well, they're still in the plaza. They can still toss you a stacked delivery at that point. But at least from what I've seen, after you're really starting to drive to customer A, let's say, and let's say you're halfway there, at least in my experience, I haven't seen that many stacked requests come through at that time. So in short, stacked deliveries on a DoorDash or batch deliveries, they're great ways to increase your income, decrease expenses because you're not driving to restaurants. But make sure you look at those factors that we talked about in this video. And if you have a side hustle, if you're looking to get into this gig economy, definitely make sure to check out the first link in my description. That is for my Amazon storefront. It has the very best accessories for your side hustle. If you've enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, and you can click or tap the screen right now for my most recent video, as well as a video recommended for you, and I'll see you in the next one.